Okay. It looks like maybe, just maybe, you got this to work here. So let me stop my video as well so you can see me. And make sure I'm unmuted. Sounds like I am. So looking good. All right, so we will be going live in 1 minute. If you are on Facebook and you can see this, that's awesome. If you're in Zoom and you can see this, that's awesome too. I managed to figure it out and succeed in no time at all. So if you have any questions in Facebook, you're streaming there. I'm not sure how I receive those messages, but we'll see how it goes. I'll keep, I'm pretty sure Lynn is watching as well. Lynn, if you can see anyone commenting on Facebook with questions, go ahead and drop them in private message to me just in case I don't get them here. I'm fairly certain it's going to work out pretty well, but yeah, I mean, we're seeming to be all synced up here. If you're in Zoom, do you want to just let me know whether or not you can hear me and everything, that we're all good to go? I think you guys have options to chat in there. Okay, perfect. I think we are good. One last test here. And again, I appreciate everyone being flexible here as I try to make sure this is all working. If you're in Zoom, perfect. Okay. That is perfect. Hello, Carol. Nice to see you. And I'm not getting messages from Facebook, though I did see a message pop on the Facebook stream. So I will keep an eye on both as well. But we will get started because we're going to be going for about an hour. I'll ask you to kind of hold your questions or drop your questions as you go, but don't expect me necessarily to stop and answer them. I want to keep the flow going of the webinar. Once we reach the end, then I'll just try and answer all of the questions that I possibly can. Okay, so welcome everyone to our first Facebook Live Zoom combined webinar. In this webinar that we're launching for Pain Free for Life Week, some of you may find some of this information familiar. We're going to be mostly talking about the microcurrent technology, which we focused in on Monday as well, and which the new ebook that we put out talks about. So I'm going to be showing you essentially the fundamental, what we typically do, what in conventional medicine, and what we end up doing in our field. And we're going to show you why the stuff we do actually makes a difference and changes people's lives. In essence, there is quite a bit to this, and I'm going to be putting a focus primarily on the Avazia life evolution, which has the essentially, it has the middle range everything that you really need. So you don't have to worry about having not enough or too much. And it's really the device of people that want to just learn and get started. And many people that pick the evolution do so and keep it. And some pick the evolution and move up to the pro sport as soon as they get the chance. So it really comes down to how much you want to get out of the microcurrent, right? And so I'm hoping in this webinar, we will be able to explain it. I'm going to show you some phenomenal before and afters. Some of them pretty grisly, but I will give you a warning to look away if you don't like grisly stuff. Okay, so yeah, exactly like what I just went over here. In this online class, we're going to show you why systems and techniques that are out there are not resolving the issue and reveal to you the system that will. And the system that will, of course, is microcurrent therapy. And if you've been following me this week, you will have seen how we've been tying microcurrent into all of the elements of our protocol, which are stress reduction, nutrition, fitness, sleep, and microcurrent. And microcurrent weaves between all those other elements as well. So all those things are fundamentally important, and we don't deny that fact whatsoever. But what we are seeing is that people also need these other boosts to unblock their body's electrical systems and get them to start working properly. So the Pain Free for Life team, many of you know us already. I'm one of three that is here today. My name is Rob Vanbergen. You can see my picture there. I looked a little bit paler back then. I think I've managed to catch some sun since then. Essentially, we've been working for years, and we're a family. We've been working for years in microcurrent. For me, my microcurrent journey started as a personal journey when I was about 9 years old, and I developed scoliosis that was causing me a lot of pain, a lot of anxiety that came with that pain, and nothing we could really do was getting rid of that. So for me, getting into microcurrent, having microcurrent used on me was sort of my initial patient journey, if you will. And then I never really thought I would end up doing this. I mean, microcurrent freed me from pain. It allowed me to enjoy my childhood. And then I went to school to study literature. And that just didn't necessarily expect myself to come full circle back to microcurrent. But here I am. I'm a board certified holistic health practitioner. I'm also studying for my PhD in natural medicine. At this point in time, I am writing my thesis, my dissertation on vagus nerve stimulation, because it's been such a successful therapy for us. And we will talk about that here, I've got so much research that I can put out there on it that to proves how effective it is for dealing with the things we're going to be talking about today. So enough about me. We'll talk to you about the devices, but also about everything that there is in the world as we know it. So typically, we are taught that there is either no answer or there is a chemical answer to whatever our health concern may be. This is what people say when you get sick, when you have an autoimmune disease, when you have anxiety or depression. It doesn't really matter what it is. If you have a diagnosis, then you are taught that you essentially have to take drugs, you need some sort of surgery, or you have no hope for relief. And typically at that point, they shift you over to psychiatric care so that you can learn pain management techniques, which is essentially telling you that your pain can't be real because the drugs aren't working or the surgery didn't fix it, which is, you know, for lack of a better term, a total joke. I'm not gonna curse, but you guys get the idea. We are taught these things from a young age when we go to the doctor, and this is what we're slapped with. And it seems to have improved a little bit nowadays, but still to this day, you get a sore throat and there are some doctors that will just throw an antibiotic at you without even really looking. And I think it's a bit worse with COVID and with digital pharmacies and all of that sort of stuff, because people are just looking to do what they can do to kind of throw away you as a patient, get you done, get you out of the way, out of the waiting room, right? So absolutely, it's something that we fundamentally are taught, but that is not necessarily true. So the pill that is going to essentially fix you up, it's not going to fix you up. There is absolutely no such thing as a pill that can resolve disease. All pills do, all they do is mask the problem, and they allow you to degenerate in peace. Whether they shut down your immune system, whether they throw in more hormones to stop you feeling sad, whether they just block the pain receptors, or they just turn the inflammation off, all they're doing is muting the issue, right? They're just muting the issue, masking the problem, and sitting there, we sit there, we continue to break down because we have not fixed a thing. And this might go on for years and years and years, and it's just breakdown after breakdown after breakdown. And this is it, right? This is what the pill actually does. It lessens our pain and discomfort. That's the good thing. You can't deny that it's good to lessen your pain and discomfort. But the bad thing, the bad stuff it does, it shortens your lifespan. It numbs your body to the existence of a problem. It comes with different side effects depending on the drug. And oh my goodness, some of these side effects are ridiculous. And the doctors, I don't even know if they know. They just drop the pills in your lap and they give them to you and you take them. And then 5 years later, when you're still on these pills, you suddenly realize that, oh, geez, my liver isn't working anymore. And that's because they never warned you, because in the moment, the pills were what you needed. They fixed your issue. but they didn't fix anything, right? And I mentioned the liver issue impacting your organ function. I mean, we do see organ failure as the result of long-term medications. So taking pills long-term is hard to come back from. Not impossible, but it can be hard, especially with the withdrawal that comes with some of these things. So we also are told, again, this is the next thing, surgery is the only option. And when I found this picture, I didn't think it was going to become as popular as it is. But what I see nowadays is that someone goes to the doctor the first time for a small issue. They've got some hip pain. Maybe they've got some arthritis in their hip. It's been developing for 6 months or so. And the doctor takes one look at it and says, you know, I think we're on track for a surgery here. We're going to replace that hip. Or, you know, we're going to put a metal plate in there. Or what happened to the days of healing ourselves, of relying on our bodies and their totally perfect capability of healing to heal? We just don't do it anymore. We just shove metal. We shove metal in there. We replace the good bone that's maybe a little bit worn, but that could be fixed. We just take it, they smash it out with a hammer, they throw it aside, and they screw in some metal hardware in its place. And it is gruesome. If you have ever watched a surgery, like a replacement surgery, it's gruesome. But sometimes it is just described as a solution for the pain. And sometimes people that come out, I'm not saying it's always bad, sometimes people come out of these replacement surgeries and they're pain-free. And it's amazing. And that's great. Other times people come out of these replacement surgeries and they're in more pain than when they went in. And that's the thing that keeps me up at night about this surgery stuff. It's not that surgery is always bad. I don't believe that at all. I had, my appendix was going to burst. I had an appendectomy, an emergency appendectomy, saved my life. I'm sure of it. I'm very, very happy that surgery exists as an option, but I feel like it's being prescribed really quickly with no regard for the fact that we could go in, we could fix something, we could make some changes. Maybe we can see why the body isn't healing and we can get in there and make a change. That just doesn't even seem to compute anymore. And I am so sick of hearing that. So this picture here, I think it is an extraction of money. And whether you live in the US where you're actually paying a premium for your surgery, or you live in Canada where the government pays for it and the taxpayers end up paying it back, the doctor, the hospital still gets paid. It's still an extraction of money. Of course, there are complications of surgery. As I said, surgery should be reserved for life-threatening situations. Surgery often brings with it a long recovery time. Even with microcurrent, we're sometimes looking at a couple of months to get you pain-free and back after extensive replacement surgery. Without microcurrent, you could be looking at 6 months to never, depending on how hard this, how the surgery goes and how your body adapts to that. You may always have some sort of issue from your body even rejecting the fact that this isn't real bone. It's not human tissue. It's not meant to be in the body. And you know, that's it. So it can leave you vulnerable to needing more surgeries down the line. Some people that have spinal fusions, that spinal fusion, the scar tissue that's created creates breakdown, that creates more scar tissue, that creates the need for another fusion and another fusion and another fusion. And it's just one after the other after the other. And then of course the scar tissue, which I mentioned, that brings with it a bunch of health concerns too. I feel like the scar tissue is one of the scariest components because it may be something that we just consider normal. But when you're going in and you're doing a replacement for a joint, you're breaking a lot of stuff to make that new joint fit in there. And the scar tissue that it has to adhere around that is rough. And you know, that is going to create a lot of issues for a lot of people. And then there is the good old, there is nothing we can do. This doesn't usually, this does not usually come at the beginning. The nothing we can do typically rolls around, you know, a couple months into you being on a medication or after a surgery that has supposedly should have fixed you and you are still in pain. This is the most common time that this happens. Sometimes it's the first response. Sometimes you go in pain and they're like, look, there's no reason for you to be in pain. End of story. And at this point, it doesn't matter when you hear it, whether you hear it at the beginning, whether you hear it at the end. It is an absolute killer to be told you are beyond hope. But here it comes, right? What if rather than accepting this as fact, we challenge it? The truth is that you absolutely can resolve your chronic disease, illness, or pain without drugs, without surgical intervention. There is absolutely something we can do. We can at least try to save your natural body, to keep it going. It doesn't have to be a getting rid of it all or dumping in or there's no hope. There is always something that we can do. And I mentioned this 2-3 times already on this webinar, and you're going to notice it's a common theme here. If you think about it, if our body is designed to heal itself, why isn't it healing? We are absolutely not built to fall apart. It just doesn't make sense. We are built to heal. In an ideal health situation, when our body is in harmony, we heal. If we break a limb, we heal. If we cut, we bleed, we heal. You know, if we tear a ligament, it heals. Why would it suddenly not heal? It doesn't make sense. Biologically, it's not normal. There is something standing in the way of recovery. And that is the primary reason. And again, if you tuned in on Monday, you would have seen the what is microcurrent session, so you're going to know what's coming. This is the primary reason that the body isn't healing. Over 80%, and this is about 4,000 or more, of all chronic disease, illness, and pain is the result of inflammation. It is the root of, I like to say, all disease, and it is over 4,000 diseases. And it may be a bold statement, but it has a lot of truth behind it. When we look to the inflammation as a absolute body-wrecking event, something that sticks around, blocks electrical communication, and causes us pain and discomfort, then we start to see the why. Why is the body not repairing? We start to see that in motion. So we see drugs as a mask. I mentioned this already. People take medications when they feel pain. And these medications, they cover up the pain. So they're covering up the fact that there is inflammation going on there. And it doesn't matter if it's pharmaceutical, if it's marijuana, or if it's a street drug, it masks the problem. It is not fixing it. It is numbing your body's senses to that pain. So you take your sad face and you change it out for a happy face, like the bloke here. You're just switching it out. Underneath that mask, the inflammation still burns away like a fire because it is not gone. It is just muted or turned off temporarily. So it stays around for so long, though, because you keep masking it. You are ignoring your body's signals that there is something wrong. So rather than taking them and trying to get some action in there, you nuke your body with Tylenol so that every pain receptor in your body is just muted. And then the pain fades a bit, and then you forget about it for a while, but that inflammation didn't get fixed. It's still there. So it starts to, the inflammation will actually break down the structure of our body. It's sort of like you see it with autoimmune diseases, right? You've got that inflammation, and then the immune system is attacking your body because of the inflammation. It's like a warning flare. It's, look, guys, there's something going on here. And it's just attacking and attacking and attacking. And this is what happens with inflammation. So if you have arthritis in your hands, so in your fingers, then your fingers are under attack by your body. So inevitably, you've got the pain from the inflammation, and your body is ravaging your joints. It is breaking them down because it sees them as the enemy. So this is the problem with persistent inflammation. So we'll ask ourselves, right? So we've already grasped this. Why aren't we healing? So inflammation, absolutely. It is physically impossible to regenerate if inflammation is present. Inflammation is part of the natural healing response. But when inflammation becomes chronic, it's no longer part of the natural healing response because it hasn't gone away to allow repair to happen. It's restricting everything. So we don't know that the inflammation is there when we cover it up, right? If you're consistently taking pain medications, you don't know that that pain is still there. You don't feel the inflammation anymore. So you're just moving through the day because the signal has been muted. But that inflammation doesn't go anywhere. It stays there. It keeps burning and burning and burning. And we sort of trick our body into forgetting about it. But all the while, it is really just causing more and more damage. And so the longer you have had chronic inflammation or chronic pain, the more potential damage there is to your body's nervous system, cellular structure, tissues of all kinds. And that's something we have to pay attention to. So the answer is obvious, right? If the root cause of disease is inflammation, then we need to shut down the inflammation to cut the power to the disease. So you probably already know where this is going, but what if we had a way to turn off the inflammatory signals? In this case, this is the difference between, closing your eyes to block out the light being like a medication and flipping the switch to turn the light off. Now, when you close your eyes, the light is still on and it's still breaking through. And if you've ever tried to sleep in a room that is bright light, you can know how it's harder to do that, right? You're tricking yourself into trying to believe it's dark. But when you flip the switch, it actually becomes dark. And this is what we're doing here. Pills are covering your eyes. Microcurrent is flipping the switch. And part of this happens to be the rapid response time of microcurrent. When you're looking at taking a medication, that medication has to enter your bloodstream. It has no direction. It doesn't, that your bloodstream doesn't say, oh, this is a chemical that's intended for this part of my body. Off it goes. It just pumps it throughout your body. So you're actually muting your entire body's pain response, and you're not allowing it to be normal. What microcurrent does is it specifically targets an area when you place the electrode on the skin. So you're targeting the area and you're shutting it down. But it also does it faster. It's that there's a lot of miles worth of circulation in your body. I think I went over it this morning. I think it was like 60,000 miles of vessels for your blood to travel with all of those nutrients and drugs in them. And what you've got to look at is that when you're dealing with when you're dealing with microcurrent versus the blood with its chemicals is working at about 3 to 4 miles per hour. It's a fairly slow delivery system. And microcurrent is about 300 miles per hour. So when we signal an area with microcurrent, we get a response like that. It is quick. You can start to loosen up. You can feel the tension release, the inflammation go down. The pain can go down a little bit even after just a couple of minutes versus medications that might take 15 to 35 minutes to start to have an effect. So the speed that we can deliver the shut off signal is huge because it means we can just hit that spot and shut it off instead of nuking the body with drugs. So what is microcurrent therapy? So common misconceptions, and if anyone here watching is new, you probably have these misconceptions. Is it like a TENS device or a PEMF mat? And no, it's not like either. On these next slides, we're going to discuss TENS, PEMF, and microcurrent, and then I'm going to elaborate on the differences between them. So a TENS device is electric drugs. It's doing the same thing as Tylenol. It is literally blocking your pain signals by sending extremely high currents into the body, and it's masking your pain. It's paralyzing the nerves so they can't feel anything. So TENS devices work at extremely high power. In comparison, at their lowest mode, they are 1,000 times more powerful than our highest mode in our device. So you got a lot of electricity hitting your nerves. They have contraindications in their use as well. They essentially say don't treat over your heart, your face, don't pass over your neck. You definitely don't want to do anything on your brain. You don't want to do anything to do with your nervous system, really, like your vagus nerve or any of the cranial nerves. Essentially, once you've fully read the list of what you shouldn't do with your TENS device, you'll realize that it's probably only fit for someone who is not living. That is how bad it is for you if you use it extensively. And please do not take that lightly. We've had people that have done things with their TENS devices that they've bought on Amazon that they think is going to be fine, and it is not fine. The damage done takes 6 months to a year to fix if they do something wrong, like try to stimulate their vagus nerve with a TENS unit instead of with a proper microcurrent device. So what is PEMF therapy? PEMFs are different. They are actually more similar to microcurrent than a TENS device. Typically, a PEMF works at a nice low frequency, just like microcurrent does. But what they are doing is a PEMF is a form of electromagnetic field, like what you're getting off of your cell phone, but good for you. So it's kind of bleeding out into your body and it's saturating your cells. So as long as you have a good PEMF device, you can kind of deliver that in there. But what PEMF devices do is they saturate an area with the frequencies. The frequencies are pretty static. They aren't live. They don't conduct through the body, traveling along your nerves and restoring it for optimal health. They just sort of flood an area in frequency. And we do use PEMFs and microcurrent as well, but microcurrent's lightning fast results are very hard to replicate with PEMFs. And there is no connection to the brain at all. It's kind of, there's kind of some issues there as well. And I'm just going to take a moment here, make sure that I'm not missing out on anything. I see I've got a few comments here on the Facebook group. How can I share this video with friends who are interested in microcurrent? So if people are looking to watch this, they're going to have to be invited to this group for now, but the replay will be available for you to send out to your friends. There was also a Zoom link emailed out for registration. It may be too late to register now. So the best thing to do would be to try and get them into this Facebook group. I believe Lynn is watching, and if anyone is requesting to join the group, we're accepting them at the moment. And I'm just going to check. Good. So we're clear on that. I don't want to miss any key questions like that. And I want to make sure occasionally we're not having any huge technical issues at all. Okay, so what is microcurrent technology? So microcurrent works with body-friendly frequencies to correct imbalances within the body and actually resolve the problem. There is no blocking, there is no paralyzing, there's no numbing, just fixing. There are frequency-specific microcurrent devices, and this has sort of become very popular recently. It's being used in clinics in the States, big clinics. But these machines are often bulky and big, and they require a lot more work than the kind of chip technology that we use. Essentially, a frequency-specific microcurrent protocol will involve hitting an area for a certain amount of time for one frequency, and then redialing the machine to another and hitting it again. And they often work in these kind of two-mode cycles. Hit it with this frequency, hit it with this frequency, then hit it with this frequency, and hit it with this frequency. The way our devices have been built is they are tiny. They are not big. They're not big computer-sized countertop ones. They also don't require any conduction, so you're not required to wet the skin or to put a gel on the skin. They work through these metal electrodes, and you can just paint around the area. But the real important part is the chips inside. So Avazia devices, the Avazia Life devices, are created by the guy that invented some pretty important military technology at Texas Instruments, and essentially went from putting chips in missiles to putting chips in health technology. And so there's a lot of memory on these boards. And what they do is they actually do that whole switching of frequencies for you. So you'll see we have like a 7 to 12 hertz. 7 to 12 hertz doesn't just do two frequencies. It's at 7 and then 7.1 and 7.2, and it ramps up to 12 hertz automatically. So you're actually getting the full benefit of a series of frequencies. And the real kicker here is the fact that when you use that chip technology, you're not allowing your body to get used to the frequencies because it's constantly changing. If you repeatedly use the same static frequency with your device or with a microcurrent device on the body, it could inevitably get used to it and stop working. But all of Avazia frequencies, all of them. Even like 77 hertz is not a perfect 77. There's always the design put in there that the chip keeps that frequency moving so that your body doesn't recognize it as a threat that it needs to become immune to. Okay, so flipping the switch on inflammation. I mentioned this earlier a little bit with the light switch, and here we go again. This is in essence what microcurrent enables us to do. We can send the correct frequencies into the body, the same frequencies the body uses to communicate, and we can shut inflammation down at its source, excuse me. So conversing with the brain is also an important feature here. I won't say proper, our microcurrent technology, it can converse with the brain. There is a biofeedback component, we call it dosing and zeroing, where you can actually have a two-way conversation with your brain and your body to get them involved in the healing process. And we talked earlier about our body's amazing potential for healing. Well, this is what it's all about. If you can use this device to signal a flare, like to throw up a help flare on your ankle or your knee or your guts, wherever it is that you're having your problems, then the brain can see that and look at it and say, oh, man, well, how did I miss that? You know, and it can then start to send help, and you can really enhance the healing process. So what the frequencies do is they enter the skin through the microcurrent device, a gentle tingle. The frequencies trigger a response from the brain. The brain acknowledges the problem, and the body and the device can work together to fix said problem. So it's nice, it's easy, and it's highly effective. So we're going to explore the technology now and all the cool things it can do, the features we put into it, the hows and the whys. And this is the Avazia Life Evolution that I held up earlier, and the one we are sort of featuring today in this webinar. So vagus nerve stimulation, flipping the switch on inflammation. So this is literally what we mean. And I mentioned earlier that my PhD thesis, my dissertation is on vagus nerve stimulation. Simple to do treatment where you stimulate the neck for a brief amount of time, usually 3 minutes, 4 times a day. So 12 minutes of your day to encourage the body to turn off the inflammatory response. So the vagus nerve controls that inflammatory response. I've been talking about the vagus nerve all week in these videos on this page, on this Facebook page. And you'll see the vagus nerve has such a critical role that we almost always recommend it. I have about 2 clients that are currently not using vagus nerve stimulation because it's that good. Everyone else is using it. It just makes that much of a difference for people. So it should absolutely be included. Typically, vagus nerve stimulation is done surgically. So what we're seeing is in the actual conventional medical space, they will do a surgery where they implant a stimulator on your vagus nerve right in the neck. And what it will do is it will just go zap, 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 and stop. And then a little while later, it will do it again. So all the risks and costs of surgery, same effect. A vagus nerve implant will last 5 to 10 years before it must be replaced. And this is because they have to go in and they have to replace the technology that's stuck in the tissue. So even if you do manage to heal with limited scar tissue, they're going to open up again, do it again and again. Some people could be looking at 30 years, over 30 years, up to 6 vagus nerve treatment changes. And if the typical age of a person that ends up getting a vagus nerve stimulator is in their 50s or 60s, that is a very real possibility. Each surgery to implant costs around $20,000 US to implant one of these little stimulators on your vagus nerve. And of course, the worst thing, the scar tissue that's created by the surgery, just compounding the issue because we're just adding scar tissue to the body. And scar tissue is a massive electrical impedance. So vagus nerve stimulation our way is super easy to do. You're essentially attaching the pad, or you're using this little Y electrode here. You're going onto your neck, you're finding your carotid, you're placing the probe, and you're switching it to the right mode, and you are stimulating. Now, this is essentially a 3-minute thing. You just sit here like this. You can go longer than 3 minutes if you find it helps. Some people like to go upwards of 20 minutes because it can really help with anxiety as well. So we're not just dealing with pain and inflammation, but the vagus nerve can deal with anxiety, sleep, it can just fundamentally change the way your body heals. And you can see a testimonial here where someone had given their aunt vagus nerve stimulation and little wings, which is another technique that can be done with this technology. And she was then able to smell after 20 years. And now whenever she sees her, she asks for vagus nerve stimulation. Vagus nerve stimulation can have fundamental changes to the cranial nerves because it is a cranial nerve. So it can impact the brain and all of the sensory nerves as well. So you can have dramatic changes like that. It's one of my, I can't wait to get my dissertation completed just so that I can put it out there and show people like all these fundamentally insane changes for the better that people are experiencing with this treatment. So it also has neurofeedback in it. Certain algorithms that let us work in conjunction with brain waves to affect sleep, anxiety, depression, PTSD, and more. There are a lot of algorithms in our top of the line device for all the different brainwave patterns, but two of these very important algorithms have made it into the evolution, and this is alpha and gamma. So alpha is actually what we use for vagus nerve stimulation, but it's also the mode we need to keep us out of fight or flight mode. Fight or flight creates more stress, which creates more inflammation, which can enhance our pain. So when we are in an alpha state, that inflammation cannot occur. One way of using neurofeedback with the alpha frequencies is to just set the ear clips onto your body. You just clip them right on onto your ears. And once they're on, you can see they're really small. Just clip them right onto your earlobe. And once they're both on your ear, you can run the alpha program. And typically I find it takes 15 to 20 minutes before it starts to kick in. But you end up with some long-lasting alpha state benefits, like being able to get to sleep more easily. And you can see again, I had a message from someone that said, okay, so they just got their evolution. Julie just got her evolution. And she used ear clips on the alpha setting. That was the first thing she did. Just clipped them on, went to sleep. And she said it's the best sleep she's had in a while. And it's true. Even people with insomnia tend to be able to benefit from that. But then we also have gamma. Now, gamma is, whether it's reducing the aging of the brain or stimulating it to prevent depression and PTSD or clearing up brain fog and getting you going, gamma is a useful frequency. When we put it in the evolution, we kind of hoped that it would work as effectively as it does, and it does. We did an internal study in our private membership group, which we'll be talking about later as well. And this was the results of that study. And I think it was a 6-week study where people did this treatment. And we actually had 2 variations of the treatment. The first one did not work. The second one using gamma did work. And so essentially you just stick these little pads right here on your forehead and you run gamma. And we saw a 95% improvement in anxiety, an 85% improvement in depression, a 75% improvement in PTSD symptoms, 90% improvement in sleep length, which we were not going for at all, but it just sort of started to happen. And a 75% improvement in ADHD. Again, we were not aiming to work on that, but some people had ADHD and wanted to know how it would work. So that sample size was smaller for the ADHD, whereas I asked everyone about sleep length when I started to get reports, and it was still a 90%. Yeah, you know what? I have been sleeping a lot better. So there are some massive benefits to gamma, and I highly recommend that people do gamma as often as they can, like once a day. Even if you're in pain and you're not looking at this as a pain protocol, again, we've discussed this week, anxiety, depression, those can have a component and a role to play in your pain. PTSD, if you have chronic pain and it's come about as the result of an accident, then there may very well be PTSD underlying that. And even the trauma from having chronic pain for years can lend to that too. Scar tissue. I should have put scar tissue earlier on in the video slides because I've mentioned it so much already. Scars are much more than a visible wound. They actually cause an electrical blockage in the body that slows communication and impairs our healing. So microcurrent therapy of the correct frequency can neutralize these electrical barriers and return the pathways to optimum functionality. Continued use of microcurrent on scars can actually even break them up entirely. And this goes for internal and external scars as well. And it is our actual rule number one. When you start doing your treatments, when you get a treatment coordinator that's setting you, you're on your path, you're looking at scar tissue being number one, treating all your scars. It doesn't matter if the pain's in your knee and you've got a scar on your ear, you're going to be doing that. Just because if there's any impairment in the communication system, we want to free that right up. Inflammation. So we've been over inflammation a bunch already, right? It doesn't matter whether the inflammation is of the muscles, of the joints, of the gut, of the brain. Inflammation can be reduced with microcurrent therapy. We typically want a frequency over 100 hertz, delivered with enough voltage that it pushes deep in and shuts that inflammatory response down. And again, vagus nerve stimulation will also play a role there. By reducing inflammation, the symptoms of disease tend to subside. The evolution actually contains two ideal modes for inflammation. One for holding them in place, like so you don't have to move the device, and one for moving the device. fMRSI. So fMRSI is an improved version of a mode called RSI. RSI is actually being studied right now at Stanford University and Baylor School of Medicine with some clinical trials in which they are reviewing the ability to improve blood flow and circulation in people with peripheral neuropathy to improve feeling. Now, fMRSI is the mode that they're using, and they're getting very good results. We can also have other modes in other devices that do have a similar effect. But the primary purpose of fMRSI is actually to deal with joint issues, as well as the production of ATP. And it is really good for chronic pain. And the part of the reason for that is that it is one of those modes that's been programmed to hit you really fast with the modes. So the quick changes of the frequencies really get your body's attention. So if you end up going in with chronic pain, you can actually help free up the area and deal with any repair work that needs to be done in order to deal with the pain. This is an all-in-one program, and it's only available in the Evolution for now. So it typically is used for people with arthritis. I just saw this here in this little mini testimonial. It's a go-to mode for arthritis pain because it's so effective on joint damage. Meridian stimulation. So you're actually able to use the device to stimulate your meridians. So if you're into traditional Chinese medicine and you look at acupuncture points, we have training videos that show you why and how you would stimulate those points. And there is the right program in the Evolution to be able to do that. And then the Onboard Pharmacy is a terminology that sort of pulls things together here. Essentially, this is about that communication with the brain. We're able to get in there and get the body to use its own pharmacy, its own ability to completely fix the issue and bring it in. So sometimes when you're doing a treatment, if you're not getting results, you need to do the dosing and zeroing. You need to send up a flare, ask for help from the body, get the body to recognize that you've got a really weird issue going on, and it feels like it should play its role in addressing that. If you do that, then you're making good progress as well. Okay, one step further, trigger points. So these are a recent addition, probably within the last year. It was around November or October when we started working publicly with trigger points. We've worked with them for a long time, but essentially the inflammation and pain are connected, but sometimes the pain can come from a different place than you think. If you look at this example here, through the use of what we're calling a trigger point chart, right? We have all these available in the manuals. We can self-assess and determine the real source of the pain. So if you're saying that your thumb region hurts, like in this slide here, you can actually look and see the black X marking the likely referral point for that pain. So if you were treating that thumb like crazy, trying to get rid of the pain, and you're not getting rid of it at all, and you're not making any difference, then you can kind of shift up to the trigger points and say, oh, well, that's why, because the pain could be coming from right there on my inner arm. And you can go and you can treat that point and you can remove it. So you can use those to self-assess very effectively. So for the next couple of minutes, I'm just going to show some brief before and afters of healing. I always think healing of wounds is a very important part of microcurrent here, because what you're seeing is the ability for the body and its tissue and cells to repair in some of the most grisly situations. So if you would like to look away, if you don't like grisly stuff, feel free to do that. Just, you know, turn to the side, keep your audio on. I will tell you when it's over. I will keep it brief. So this one was, it's an oldie but a goodie. This was one I showed earlier in the week on the Facebook Live trainings as well. This was an arc welder that exploded and left this guy with some seriously burnt skin. And after just 2 weeks, you've got him on the left there, the initial injury, and then on the right, about 2 weeks later, he is almost 100% normal again. He's got a little bit of darker tissue on his hands, which has probably continued to work on after that. But from the injuries that were previously seen to normal face and massively reduced swelling, which shows you how much inflammation has been reduced as well, right? Because all this swelling in the face is a form of inflammation, and he's got a much skinnier face there on the end. This was a case of frostbite that Dr. Hache did. Again, I showed this one earlier on in the week. Essentially, this poor guy got caught on training exercise in the snow, didn't take his socks off before he went to sleep, and they were wet, and he woke up with frostbitten feet. And his toes were due to be amputated on Monday, and he was going to be discharged from the military service. And after 4 days of treatment, you can see that the toes are nice and pink, and they are healing nicely. So he's getting a lot of healing going on here. He got a new blood flow in, and he actually run over to the office to give us the device back and let us know how good things were going. So he was able to get back on his feet from a place where he was barely able to walk at all. This little puppy here is a Facebook favorite, I think. Very much enjoying the treatment. And this just sort of shows you just how much animals can respond to this technology. They know it's good for them, and they just kind of roll over and take it, and they're like, yeah, you give it to me. They'll let you know when they're done. These are some of the more grisly ones, guys. This was a poor little young horse that fell and got a break, and I think there was bone sticking out there. And what you can see is that healing in just 7 days, all new tissue over the top, nice and pink and clean. This was a non-healing wound sustained in a nursing home fall, and you can see the issues there. Daily treatment for 2.5 weeks on a non-healing wound, and I believe this was done with our G-Wave pad attachment, which we'll be showcasing in a little bit here, and you can see that it's completely healed. So you cannot really deny these healing cases, right? These are reversals of things that are just not healing in general, and this is all about reducing inflammation, encouraging the body to naturally heal. I've got 3 more. So this is poor horse Pearl. Pearl has become very famous in the Facebook group as well. She got caught in a fence overnight. It was winter, and she got a wound and contracted sort of infection and some frostbite. You can see that the tissue around here is black. There was no real positive prognosis, but you can see microcurrent therapy being used there around the wound, and it's closing up. This was a long journey, a 3-month journey, but it may have been fatal. And what you see here is the result 3 months later, almost back to normal. Very, very happy Pearl. This was a much quicker one. I think, I can't remember who this was, but I'm sure the person is watching actually, or someone's watching who knows who it is. This is a nice old one as well. This was a skin graft. And you can see how quickly the tissue is actually filling in. It's very crazy. And I believe this was done entirely with a mode available in the Evolution, blue stimulation. It was done with nothing more than that. And you can see the wound continuing to heal. I believe that was only over a couple of days. And then this last one here, this was a non-healing wounds again. And these continued with treatment. You can see they're already looking a lot better here. There's a lot of dark bruised skin here, and not very much healthy blood flow. You can see even the yellow of the tissue versus the more pink tissue here and the pinker wounds sealing up, and then towards the end here, brand new tissue coming through in the healing process. So doing a lot better. And again, as we age, with that ability to naturally heal somehow slipping away because of some reason or another, we can just bring that right back into play with microcurrent. So the last thing I'll show you before we talk about the product a little bit more is how do you learn how to use it? Because people love microcurrent technology, but it can seem very, very overwhelming. So we have the Hache protocol private membership, which some of you may already be members of. So in this membership, we now have unlimited access to an ever-expanding training video library. We have over 200 videos. I make new videos every month, between 4 and 6 videos a month. And essentially what you can do is you can go into the video library. There's a handy little search bar, and you can type in Parkinson's or sore throat or wound healing or arthritis, and the protocol video will pop right up. And they're usually between 3 to 15 minutes, depending on the complexity of the protocol. And you can watch a video of me performing the treatment on someone or on myself with all the notes and slides so that you can just follow that step by step. You also get unlimited treatment coordinator support. Now, this has been recently relegated to just new users, but it's something we're now expanding out to the existing Hache protocol membership as well. If anyone feels, because many of the existing Hache protocol members are very, very qualified now. They've learned a lot from their videos, and they probably can handle most things themselves. But if not, if they want a specific treatment, we have unlimited treatment coordinator support. We have access to the private Facebook group. Whoops. We have access to the private Facebook group. We have weekly live crash courses. They're not always weekly. We do at least 2 a month. Sometimes we do 4 a month. And we have a monthly live Q&A with Dr. John Hache and myself, where you just hammer us with questions. So those are the breakdown of the resources. This is the vast video library here. It's definitely getting bigger. All you need to do, as I said, is search for what you're looking for, and you can get started with a specific treatment. And we have device-specific treatment, device-specific training videos as well. So if you're getting used to a new device, you can go in, you can take a look at the video, and you can just watch the basics. This is Annie, our treatment coordinator. So if you find that you work better with a person, then included in your membership is unlimited access to your own treatment coordinator. These coordinators are trained in our protocols, will work with you to develop a treatment plan that fits your health goals for you and your family. So in essence, as you're doing a personal protocol, if that protocol is not really doing it for you, or there's a little something you need to add to it, Annie can help you by adjusting your plan. And we're constantly in communication. So she's always able to reach up if there's something that is not something she's seen before, that's likely that either myself or Dr. John or Dr. Lorry have seen, that we can just pass back down. And sometimes we'll even get directly involved if we are needed as well. There's also the private Facebook page. That is, it's really a social experience. It's sort of like this Facebook page, but what you're getting out of it is you're getting a lot more personalized advice and video responses. So we're really putting a lot of those things in there and just sort of showing them off as we go. So people like dietitians, holistic health practitioners, chiros, physios, medical and naturopathic doctors, and there's even lots of home users that are self-taught as well that are in that group. And the advice that you can get is really good, because what they're doing is they're contributing their own expertise into the questions you ask. So if you put out a problem there, you're going to get advice about supplements, different therapies, as well as microcurrent tips from us and them. So that can make for a very extensive experience here. Just double checking that everything is still working technically over here. Yes, it is. Perfect. I am so happy, guys, that this is not broken on me yet. Okay. So weekly live crash courses. These are some people's favorite thing. So once a week, mostly when I'm able to, so it's at least twice a month, I do a live crash course. Now, what these are they're a 45-minute to 1 hour lesson on a specific condition or group of conditions that is usually voted on by the community. Sometimes we focus on a particular protocol that's complex and we might do 45 minutes on it. These videos teach you everything. So if you're brand new to the device and you want to know how to treat latent viruses, for example, that's the screenshot there, you can go in, you can pull up the video and you can watch it. And in watching it, what you're going to really see is you're going to get some, you're going to be getting your handheld and walk through the protocol, essentially. So even if you've not taken any other training videos before, you don't even know how to do vagus nerve stimulation, and it turns out to be part of this protocol, I tend to show that off in the videos. And one of the biggest benefits for me, it's not me teaching them, it's other people watching live. So when the video courses are live and people ask me questions, I think that's when we get some of the biggest gems, because as someone who has been in this field for quite a few years now, it's not that I feel like I know everything. It's that there are things that I would gloss over that may be absolutely critical, because I just think they're just like, well, of course that makes sense. You just do that kind of thing. It's a basic thing. But so people will call me out on things. They will ask questions. We can get answers live. So chances are the questions that you're thinking of, someone has asked in these crash courses, and you can watch the replays of all of these. We have well over 30 of them available right now. And yeah, they're nice and easy. And then we have the monthly live Q&A. So if you have in-depth questions, you're looking for live advice, the monthly live Q&A is pretty much the best place you can go. This is a once a month opportunity to essentially draw on Dr. Hache's knowledge. So you'll sit right next to me here in this office and we will talk back and forth. We give the members news as well, like whether there's anything new coming out, what to expect. We answer all of their questions. And we do go beyond microcurrent as well. I know one of Dr. Hache's like starting points is homeopathy, and we'll give homeopathic advice, naturopathic advice, exercise advice, you name it. We'll give what we can give to make sure you get the answers that you need. So that sort of breaks up the membership. So that is included for 60 days free. And then there is a special price to continue each month. The 60 days free, though, especially for the evolution, tends to be enough for people. If you don't feel that you really want to continue on with the membership after that, you're getting a lot of video access in that time. You've got your book, you've got your treatment plan set up. You can easily walk away and not pay a penny for the training, because you're getting that 60 days free access. Okay, so on to the products. And I think we're actually making some really good time in here. It doesn't actually show me how long we've been doing this for, but we're closing in on an hour, I think. And I'm impressed that we made it through in an hour. I was kind of thinking we'd be going a bit longer than that. So we mentioned the Avazia Life Evolution. This is the main product I'm focusing on today. And there is a special bonus as well that is available today if you wanted to get an Evolution and get something else as well. But these are the two options. In fact, this slide is lying to you. The standalone device here has been replaced by what we call a classic kit now. The classic kit contains the same device, but it also contains a pouch and some pads and a wire, just so that you're able to do passive treatments on the trigger points, which were added in later on. So the price didn't change for that. So that small kit can get you started with the device. And as you can see here on the back of the device is a metal plate. So you don't necessarily need the probes, but I think if you were to ask anyone in chat that has a device, what do you think about the Y probe? They're going to tell you, you need a Y probe. This right here is the Y probe, and it is just really, really nice for smooth treatments. I love how smooth it is to work across the body, and it contours to different muscles very, very well. The Deluxe Kit comes with everything that you could really ever need. You get the device, you get a nice medium-sized carry case that fits all of that stuff on the screen in it. You get 2 free months online training, as I mentioned, which you also get with the Classic Kit. You get a Y electrode, the brush electrode, which is for going through your hair or for treating pets. Pencil electrode, which is for meridians or treating fine areas like in between the crease of the nose here, or in the ear or near the ear or behind the ear, anywhere that's a small area. You get the wires you need for all these attachments. You have the ear clips for neurofeedback, enhanced sleep. You have the trigeminal pads, which are used for the gamma protocol, which is for the PTSD, the depression, and all those things. You have the vagus nerve pads, the conductive pads, and the carry case that I already mentioned. So that's your standard fare right there. So the Avazzia Life Evolution Deluxe Kit, if you follow the link, www.thesanashop.com/evolution, and evolution can be however you want. It could be lowercase, uppercase. It doesn't actually make a difference for this link. You will be able to buy today the Evolution Kit and get $300 savings in the form of the Chi-Wave PEMF pad. Furthermore, though, because it's Pain-Free for Life Day, Pain-Free for Life Week, we have a sale going on in the store right now. So actually, this Evolution Deluxe Kit will drop from $19.95 to about $17.95, and then you also get the free Chi-Wave. So in effect, you're saving yourself about $500 in savings. Now, this deal is only going to be available tonight. It will be gone by midnight. It is only accessible through this link, thesanashop.com/evolution. We do occasionally give away the Chi-Wave with the Evolution Deluxe Kit, but very, very rarely do we give that away with a discount as well. So you're able to kind of access all of that at once. So I actually think that we are pretty question-free despite having a good audience here. If you have any questions, go ahead and drop them. But what I'm thinking is that we just covered a lot of information, and that information has been well received. It seems to be going well for people. And I tried to be as detailed as I could as we went through it. Many of you may also already be familiar with this stuff and not be too concerned about the questions here. But so remember that link, guys, thesanashop.com/evolution. If you have anyone that you know that is interested in this technology, give them that link. It's a good deal. It's a great time to get it. And they can hop on and grab that before it's gone. I'm just going to double check, make sure there's no questions here in Facebook. Oh, Denise is asking me here, midnight my time. Yes, that's correct. So midnight my time is Pacific Standard Time. So that's a great question. It's currently 5 Pacific time, which gives you 7 hours until it will leave the store, until probably the next sale, which may be 3 or 4 months away. Okay. So if you have any questions, go ahead and ask them. I can always follow up on the chat after as well and answer them there. I think we're pretty clear in Zoom, which is great. So yeah, thank you guys for joining me. I plan on doing these videos a little bit more often, and hopefully we can give more notice to people. That price is in USD, Lisa. Thanks for that question. So that I worked it out for someone today. So it works out to be about 2,200 Canadian with taxes, I think, unless you're in one of those big Canadian provinces that charges like 13% taxes. If you're in any of our 5% ones, then that's around the cost that it is today versus about 3,000 usually Canadian dollars. So the prices on the screen are are in US dollars. So if you have any questions, feel free to ask. I will be doing these more often. That's what I was saying. I'd like to try and do a video sort of webinar once a month so that I can help all of you who have already experienced microcurrent introduce new people to it as well. So if this is something you think will be useful, we can do them on different devices. We can make sure that we get the links out earlier. And if you think you would want the link to share with someone so that they can watch it on Zoom rather than on Facebook, we can arrange all of that. I think it's good information to have. And people that are newer to this stuff are going to want to ask all the questions that they can ask. And this is the perfect opportunity to do it while they have my undivided attention. All right, everyone, thank you for joining me. I hope you have a phenomenal evening. And again, any questions, I'll be right here. Take care.